Hello, everybody. My name's Dutch. I'm an addict.
Hey, Dutch.
Oh, the topic is if the drugs don't get you, the lifestyle will.
All right.
If the drugs don't get you, the lifestyle will. Anyhow, I'm glad that there ain't a lot of people here because I tend to be a little more honest with less people. When there's like a whole lot of people in the room, I really don't want to tell the truth about me. So, but it's good coming up here. You know what? This is exciting. This is, you know what? You guys are going to look back on this, the ones that are still in the rooms down the road. And believe me, y'all ain't going to be in the rooms down the road. That's just fact. Everybody that's in here tonight is not going to stay clean. But this is history because, like, this is the first. You know what I mean? And, like, I don't know. I told him I would speak, and I told myself last year I'm taking 95 off because I got a lot going on in my life. I'm not going to speak because I feel like a recycled tire sometimes. I've been clean since 1972, all in Narcotics Anonymous.
All right.
But let me tell you something. There's a price tag that goes with that. Now, the drugs got me. Let me tell you something. Before I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I got clean at 22. The drugs had me institutionalized. I like jail, and I ain't a punk. Ain't a bit of punk in this boy. I'm a dirty white boy with no punk in me. Let me tell you something. I like jail. I didn't have to worry about toilet paper. I didn't have to worry about making a decision. I could play cards all day, talk shit all day, smoke cigarettes all day. Didn't have to work. Cigarettes were what, 40 cents a pack. And if you didn't have money, you smoked Top or Bugler or whatever they gave you. But for whatever reason, I came to Narcotics Anonymous and I stayed because I didn't have no place else to go. And that's the same it is today. I'm clean, 22 and a half years, but I don't have no place to go today. Now, the drugs got me to the point where I lived to use, used to live. All I wanted to do was get high. But what happened, every time I would go away, I would come out, and things were going to be different, and everybody that's been away knows the story. Things weren't different, they got worse. Anyhow, I ended up in Narcotics Anonymous. And that's believe me, Tim said it, by the grace of God. And what happened, I figured that I had quit using at such an early age, the drugs couldn't hurt me. But the drugs did do damage. Now, the lifestyle that I lived out there got me. I didn't find it out till 22 years later. Now, what happened, I had applied for health insurance. And I got turned down because I got a blood disorder. I said, what do you mean I got a blood disorder? So they took some tests, and I got liver damage. Now, I was on methadone in the early 70s, and they said that most people that was on methadone in the early 70s come up with this thing called hepatitis C. I didn't know what it was. I really don't know what it is today. One doctor told me that I would live a lot longer. And another doctor told me that I needed to go on these things that make you feel like you got the flu for 6 months out of the year. So in that sense, the drugs got me. Physically. But that happens to everybody in one sense or another. The drugs got me to where I'm paying dues 22 years later today. But that ain't the real thing that kicked my ass. That ain't the lifestyle. That was the lifestyle when I was using. I like dope. I was such a pathetic dope fiend, I like copping. It gave me an identity. I was somebody. Look, first time I got sent away at 13, I knew I wasn't going to be president of the United States. No more. So, fuck it. So what happened? After I'm in Narcotics Anonymous, I figured all I needed to do was stay clean. And this is where the lifestyle really kicked my ass. I didn't get a sponsor until I had 8 years clean. And I didn't think you needed to have a sponsor because you had to have somebody to have more time than you. And I couldn't find anybody. There was 2 guys that had more time, 3 guys that had more time than me that stayed around, and I didn't like none of them. So I wasn't going to ask none of them people here on the East Coast to help me. And as you grow in your recovery and check it out your own self, the more clean time you get, the harder it is to ask for help. So I wasn't in the asking for help mood, ever. I hung around with people that had less time than me so that they could look up to me and say, oh, Dutch is right. And, it was like the guy with the most clean time was right all the time. So what happened, I did basically what I wanted to do. And I paid for it. I can't stand up here and say, I'm a model. Thank God the basic text says there are no role models. I've been in jail 8 times in recovery. Now we're talking about the lifestyle. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. See, because now, the more and more people that keep walking out, I'm going to get real honest. So keep going. If there's empty room, I'm giving it all up. Look, to me, I think it takes a genius to stay out of jail. Because I like jail. I didn't like all the meals, but, I like most of the stuff. And when I went away to jail when I was younger, I didn't care about sex anyhow because, believe me, if there was a woman and there was some drugs, there's no play. I'm getting high. And then the drugs are going to tell me, because the sex will be better, but after I get high, I don't want no sex. I want to get higher. So, it was like, that was a vicious cycle. But what happened to me, I did what I wanted, when I wanted, and who I wanted to do it with, and how I wanted to do it. And I had no rules. I had no boundaries. I did what I wanted to do, and I ended up paying for it. Now, at one time, when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I was cute. Now I'm all weathered, beaten. All this is from worry. I had to look over my shoulder for about 18 years because I continually did things wrong. I didn't work steps till I had 8 years. I got a sponsor only because I thought something was really wrong because I was sponsoring a lot of people and everybody got rid of me except for this one guy down in Maryland. And he just loved me. He kept me as crazy as I was. And what happened, you figured that the first time I went away in recovery, I would, it'd be embarrassing. And the second time it'd get worse and worse and worse and worse. Well, the last time I went to jail, I had 15 years clean. And they shackled me, and they put the chains around me, and I'm walking like this. And they pushed my head as they put me in the police car. And all these people are watching me. And I was on the board of trustees in Narcotics Anonymous at the time. And I had a board of trustees meeting in California. So I called the World Service Office and I told them I can't come to the meeting because I'm in jail. They didn't believe me. They thought I was like playing a joke on them. The toughest thing that I've ever had to write in Narcotics Anonymous was when I had 15 years writing a letter to my sponsor that was censored. Because I was no longer cool. I was in holding and they was getting ready to put me in a house. And that was for theft by deception. And that was from being irresponsible, thinking I had enough money in a checking account, and not, no, to be honest, I really didn't give a shit if I had a balance or not. They needed something, I wrote them a check, and I figured, I guess it's there. And you know what? This is what happens, you know, because I would get bills in the mail, right? And I would put them in the trash can, and I would figure I paid them. Out of sight, out of mind. It all caught up with me. I had to make an amends, and I had 5.5 pages of legal pad of places and people and everything that I owed, credit cards that I owed to, because I had gotten into big shot-itis and for my 10-year anniversary, I ordered a brand new Cadillac. I went in, and you know what? Well, back then, 12 years ago, there wasn't as many people at a convention, really, in NA. So, I'm going like serve myself. Fuck it, So I had a case of big shot-itis, and what happens when you are emotionally into something, you can't see it. So maybe everybody else seen it, but I didn't see it. I had a job. I had a good job. I was doing construction in Atlantic City. I was in the right place at the right time. And everything that I touched turned to gold. And I wasn't using drugs, so I really wasn't spending no money. So I went into this Cadillac dealer, and nobody paid me any attention. I had work clothes on, like they're not even talking to me. So finally, they're getting ready to close, and the guy says, "You waiting for somebody?" I said, "No, I'd like one of these." And he said, "Oh, let me give you an application." So I filled out the application, and he comes running to me, and he goes, "Oh yes, come into my office, sit right down. What would you like?" I had credit, right? So I'm playing this to the max now, right? The big shot. I really wanted to put my feet up on his desk, stretch out. But anyhow, I had ordered this car. Now I'm going to tell you how the lifestyle got me. I ended up selling that car. Now, Easy said that he would sell his TV, right? Now, I wasn't even doing no drugs. I sold that car for $400. A brand new Cadillac. 4 years later. I had finished paying it off, and I had run it into the ground, and the newness of the smell had all gone, and, it wasn't what it was. No, it wasn't like the first time. But anyhow, the lifestyle, what happened with the lifestyle is, God damn it, if you're going to live your life for things, let me tell you something. This is a spiritual program. God's going to take them. There are two worlds. One's visible, one's invisible. I'm living in the visible world. Yo, motherfucker, look at me. Don't you know who I am? I got clean time. More than most. I got a service position. I got a brand new Cadillac. And little girl, the back seat's big enough for sex. I played it all out. You know what? And this is how I rationalized it. I'd been in jail a lot as a kid, right? Now I'm out. I'm not using. I'm feeling good. I want to do all the things that I wanted to do when I was younger. But I forgot I was married. Now I got married, right? Now I met this girl. Well, I'm going to tell you what the end result of that is. Now I met this girl, and when she came in the rooms, you know how us guys are, I put out my territorial stakes. In other words, I told everybody, that's mine, right? Stay the fuck away from it. This is my shit. Right? So, not having a sponsor, not having any steps in my life, not having a God in my life, We got married. Well, no, she got pregnant first, right? And I figured that the honorable thing to do was to marry this girl. I'm going to take responsible for my actions, right? 4 children later, she told me that she doesn't like me bringing newcomers home, and she doesn't like me going away on NA trips anymore. And I said, well, cowboys got to do what a cowboy's got to do. I tell you what, you take the house, everything in it, you take the children, and I went and I lived in my garage. Not my garage connected to the house, where I kept my tools. No running water, and I had to walk all the way to the back to turn the light on. And now this was when the basic text had just come out. I'm reading the basic text by candlelight, thinking I'm Abraham Lincoln. I'm real fucked up with a lot of clean time. I'm really fucked up. Right? You know, like Trailblazer, Pathfinder shit, right? I'm fucking doing it the whole way. So anyhow, what happened, I never went through so much pain in my life. Because I have 4 children, and I figured like I'm a continuing failure at everything that I do. You know, I didn't want to go to work anymore because I didn't see anything in it. My boat had gotten fucked up in a hurricane. It was landing on its side on the other side of the bridge. So I didn't want that anymore. I wasn't happy with me. The lifestyle that I was living, you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to get what you get. Now what I was doing was nothing. Absolutely nothing. I wasn't talking to... I was addicted to meetings. Let me tell you something. What happens when you get addicted to the meetings? You get addicted to the fellowship, and you put no spiritual principles in your life. Because what you're doing, you think that those things that you can see is going to heal you. It's not about that. This is a spiritual program. Spiritual is invisible. So if you seek things that you can see in life, and I don't care if you got 2 days, 22 years, 25,000 years. If you are looking for things to heal you or make you better that you can see, touch or feel, you ain't got a prayer. You ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. Doesn't mean you're going to use. But let me tell you something. Untreated addiction is a motherfucker. I thought I was in enough pain to drive me to Narcotics Anonymous. You better believe there's a loving God that has kept me here when the pain has wanted to drive me out of Narcotics Anonymous. Because after you're here for a little while, it ain't the substance that's taking you out the door. It's them defects that you think was already removed. And you got so much fucking pride and ego that you can't humbly ask God for shit. Because what happens when you're addicted to the fellowship, when you're addicted to just going to meetings and you ain't working after you leave the meetings on yourself, you're shoplifting. You coming in and taking what you can get. I'm going to tell you what, I shoplifted for a long time. Got away with it too. Got away with it. Let me tell you something. Fixes work for a while. Yeah, strange sex is good for a while. Keep you feeling everything. Life is beautiful. New toys makes you feel good. Prestige is the most dangerous because it lasts the longest. So out of all the things, money, property, and prestige, prestige is the hardest to shake. The lifestyle that I lived in recovery, I won't wish on anybody, but believe me, that's what it took for me to become teachable. I have never been one of them ones to come in, surrender one in my vocabulary. But what happens is, the lifestyle will get you. Now that's what happens when you're doing nothing. When you're just going to meetings, and you ain't working with a sponsor, you ain't praying, you ain't helping nobody, you don't give a shit about nobody but you. The total self-centeredness. That's what happens. Jails, They tried to commit me, but I had a doctor pull out, so I was committable. In recovery, committable. Knew it. Knew I was walking around, going to meetings and said they should commit me. Because I can't hurt anybody then. I had hurt so many people. You got to understand this. I was like a pinball machine. No matter what I did, I was like a tornado in people's lives. In recovery. This is with 8 years in the rooms. Clean. Not using. Nothing. I ain't shot dope since 1972. The 80s are on us. Got casino gambling in Atlantic City. I'm a contractor down there. I'm a VIP. Fucking right I'm gambling. And I'll tell you what, I played it and played it out and played it out and played it out. Anything that we use outside of ourselves to make us feel good is addiction. I don't have the potential to be. I am a degenerate. Today, standing here, clean clothes on, the socks look white. But I'm going to tell you what, you give me some self-will. Them socks will be gray, and I'll tell you they're white. Because what happens when I get into being a degenerate, I don't care about nothing. And believe me, there's a part of me that still likes that today. I like not taking baths. I like just running. But what happened is, the casinos whooped my ass. To the point that it was easy to surrender. But the thing that made me surrender was, I had taken a newcomer with me. And he lost his last $50. And he was on welfare. And I felt about that big. And I had asked him to go. Told him he was going to the mountain that night. I was the shit starter. Now, that's the night that I drove down to Garden State Parkway, put my brand new Cadillac that I had ordered on cruise control at 80, and shut my eyes and counted to 10. Because I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't want to be that kind of creep. Now, that's what the lifestyle gave me from doing what I wanted. I did not. It got to the point that I didn't want to live, and I had 10 years clean. I was a board of trustee member of Narcotics Anonymous. I had held every service position you can have. I had chaired I had chaired some large conventions. I had been involved in a lot of regions forming on the East Coast. I had been involved in a lot of things. I didn't want to live. So the drugs didn't get me, but the lifestyle did. And what it is, that whole thing is a disease. But now, let's see what happens when we get into recovery. Let's see how the lifestyle gets you then. What happens? See, because a lot of times when people do this topic, if the drugs don't get you the lifestyle, well, they're always going to tell you the bad shit. But that's not my story. That's part of my story. That's the part of the story that got me to the point to where I surrendered. But then what happens? I got to tell you this. It's like watching The Wizard of Oz. You see black and white for a while, and then all of a sudden it turns into color. Picture is no longer unfocused. It's very clear. That's what happens. And that's what happens. That lifestyle can get you. So I got to tell you this. If the drugs didn't get me, yeah, the drugs got me. They gave me some physical damage that I didn't realize till I was clean 22 years. I got the thing from John Hancock, and they said that we're not going to insure you because you got a blood disorder. The blood disorder comes from you got a bad liver because you shot too much fucking dope when you had hepatitis. All right? And that's what I did. Now, I'm going to tell you what. The drugs, it wasn't just the drugs. When I had hepatitis, I figured I'd shoot right through it. Right? Made sense to me. And I had no sense. The lifestyle got me, put me in jail 8 times. I lost my 4 children. I lost a family. I lost a business. I lost my boat. I gave my Cadillac away. I didn't give a shit about nothing material. And this is what had to happen to me to get stripped of everything. I had an 8-bedroom house with a place for the maid. I had a brand new boat. I had the Cadillac. I had all the material trappings you could want. I made more money in a week than I ever thought I'd make in a lifetime. I didn't want to live. I wasn't happy. I was at that point then, I wanted what you had. And to me, happiness is wanting what I have. And I'm happy today. But let me tell you what happens along this way to where this lifestyle can get you. Now let's say that the drugs didn't get me, but the lifestyle will. What's the lifestyle that's going to get you if you surrender and get a sponsor? If you make meetings. If you vigilantly work the steps. If you ask God in the morning, you thank Him at night, you stay willing to help somebody, you stay away from people, places, and things. What happens? I know what happened to me. I got out of the material world. I got out of the visible world. It was not me. It was an earth-shattering experience for me. When I didn't want to live anymore, and I woke up out of that counting to 10, I was right in the middle of the road, and all I remembered was that God isn't done with me yet, but what's He want from me? What's this God? I do this, I do that, I do this. I needed to surrender deeper. It's a deeper level of surrender. And I didn't know where to go with it. Because I figured, I'm this trusted servant here, I'm a service guy here, I sponsor this guy here, you know, I'm doing it, okay. All right, I'm having sex with this girl here and she's only got 4 months. No, she didn't. She had a little over a year. All right, I'm married, but I'm not happy. It's okay. Don't you understand? It's a fucking spiritual program. It isn't a fucking moral thing. Or a marriage is only a piece of paper. Yeah, whatever it took. Whatever it took for me to get whatever I wanted, I broke it down. And that's what happened. I ended up alone. I ended up living in a garage by myself. With a truck, with a pickup truck. 4 children that wanted daddy and thought that they had done something wrong for me to leave. So it wasn't about me. See, we can hurt other people in recovery when we get so self-centered, when we want what we want when we want it. But let me tell you the other side. I got a sponsor. Now, I didn't really work with him for the first year. I just got a sponsor to get everybody off my back. Because they was hounding me. You need a sponsor. Who sponsors you? You're crazy. God sponsors me. The group sponsors me. My sponsees sponsor me. It's a secret. I'm not going to tell anybody. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do. I got a sponsor, and you know, my life got worse. It got worse. I was out of the house, you know. And when the pain got bad enough, I called him up and I said, "Do you really think that Narcotics Anonymous can help me?" And his wife answered me. She said, "Every answer to every question you're ever going to ask, you're going to find in the steps of Narcotics Anonymous." I'm like, how's she know? She's got 3 years less than I got. She can't know. But she was 60 years old at the time. Chronologically, she had a lot of life's experience. She didn't get clean till she was 50. She'd been around the block once or twice. She was an artist on Venice Beach for 25 years. And that's a place for crazy people. And she told me that all my answers are here in the steps. So I was in a lot of pain, feeling very lonely. Nobody's ever going to want me with 4 kids and a broken down business. And I don't have any, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to live. I got into the steps. Let me tell you what I did. This is the lifestyle that started to take over. When I no longer could live on my own will. I got a dictionary. I broke every word in the steps down. I tore this program apart because I was desperate. Now, I had a lot of clean time, more than most, and my ego was shattered. I didn't know how to ask for help, but I had to do it anyhow. I broke every step down, word by word. After I broke it down, my life still got worse for 2 years. And I got to tell you this, trying to put the steps into my life, the only experience that I can relate it to is riding a bike. Because when you first start doing it, you fall off and fall off and fall off, and then one day you're riding a bike and it's like you always could. And then the only times you get in trouble riding a bike is when you're going like, look mom, no hands. You know, when you get into that big shot-itis and show-off-itis and all that stuff, you know, and you want to like grandstand and like be somebody that you really ain't, that's when you get in trouble, when the ego kicks up. So what had happened was, I had a situation. My ex-wife walked right into the house that I was living in. And I was living with another girl at the time, right? She walked right in, right up to the second floor. And she comes and gets in my face and she says, I was just with a 25-year-old lawyer last night and he fucked me 4 times. You never fucked me 4 times in one night. Oh! I was numb. She got me. She got me where it hurt. Well, I'll tell you what, I was 12 years clean now, and I still had a gun. Hey, where I came from, you always had a gun. Now, I had 12 years clean. Now, I had the clip in my girlfriend's underwear drawer, and I had the gun up in the closet. And after I came to, I immediately went to the underwear drawer and went in the closet and put them both together, and I told my girlfriend, I'll be right back, I got to take care of something. And she screamed, and I got a moment of sanity, and I got rid of the gun that night, and I've never had a gun since then. So what I did, I stepped out on some faith. But what had happened was my ego was dented, the pain was hurting, and I didn't, you know, when you go through a divorce and you have no feelings nothing to hide your feelings or anything, and you're laying out wide open, it's all about winning, or so you think. And it's not about that, it's about doing the right thing. And I didn't know what the right thing was. But what had happened was, I didn't react. So I saw myself working the second step for the first time in my life. I had admitted like I'm powerless because I know what's going to happen if I do this. Because, to make a long story short, I no longer have anger. I have a homicidal rage. You know, when I came into the broom 22 years ago, I didn't even think I was an angry person. I thought I was like a leftover hippie with long hair and that type of stuff, and I never thought I was angry. But, you know, I got to tell you this, you know, I was a banquet speaker at the World Convention in New Orleans in 1987. And I thought that, you know, I had arrived. In 1988, I stabbed somebody up in the Bronx. And believe me, I didn't wake up that morning thinking I was going to stab anybody. But what had happened, I got scared, I had a knife in my hand, and I stabbed this guy. And I was on probation at the time. And this was 16 years clean. So I knew, looking back, that if I had gone out that night with 12 years with the peace, that I would be doing life. And believe me, that that's not nothing that I'm proud of. I'm just telling you what is capable. You know, just because you got some clean time, don't put expectations on it with anybody. Because we are able to, that morning I did not go off. I did not wake up that morning thinking I was going to stab somebody. And in fact, what happened, I was playing around with the guy. He happened to be 6'10", and he came at me, and I didn't know what to do. And I was so scared of what was going to happen because he couldn't walk after I stabbed him that I was afraid he was going to go to police and I was going to go get turned in from probation. So I kept this guy with me wherever I went. I wouldn't let him out of my sight. I wouldn't let him go home. I took him to meetings with me. And now this is where you can't tell me that there isn't a loving God. This guy's clean 5 years today. He met a prostitute. They're happily married. You can't tell me there isn't a loving God. But what happened, I needed to work on things, and I didn't know how to work on them, but I had these things exposed to me, and the lifestyle did get me. The recovery lifestyle got me. I wrote on all the steps. I got to the point where I thought that I had the steps down in my life, and I can tell you this. I can tell you what happens when you don't have the steps in your life. You no longer want to carry the message. You think everybody should serve you. You don't think you need to improve anything with a power greater than yourself. You know, you're no longer taking a daily inventory and admitting that you're wrong. You're taking everybody else's inventory and telling them they're wrong. You don't need to make amends to anybody. You think everybody needs to make amends to you. You are not willing to make the list even. You are not going to humbly ask God to remove anything because you ain't got nothing. You no longer think you're defective. You think that you have arrived. You no longer have to admit anything. You think people need to admit to you and come to you because you're like the high priest of recovery. You're not taking your inventory, you're taking everybody else's. You're so fucking confused at this point, you can't make a decision, but that's where you want it. Because staying confused is a decision. What happens then? You are so insane, you don't know it. Because the denial and self-deception from this deed. Now what happens is, this is after you've experienced the steps. This has happened to me a couple times. I have been to where the lifestyle has granted me all the blessings in the world. And I thought that I was there. Let me tell you what happened. You retrogress back. And then you ain't ready to admit nothing. And the only thing that's left is not using. And that's how people with time go out. Let me tell you something. I am scared to death of that happening to me. I do not want to stay clean 22 years and end up rolled up in a carpet somewhere. And I know that that's what's waiting for me. Because I'm not going to jail this time. I'm not going to go to no institution. I like dope too much. I'm getting mine. I like it. So that's what happens with the lifestyle. But now let me tell you some other things. I met this girl and we got married. She couldn't have children. We tried to have children for 7 years. Let me tell you, we went through every type of operation, in vitro, fertile, everything. And I'm thinking like, well, you can put a man on the moon. Why can't everybody just have kids? I got 4 children from another marriage. I'm like a fertile breeding ground. What's wrong? It didn't work. And I'm feeling all these feelings of inadequacy, frustration, because I just got to be there, and I don't know how to be supportive. This girl, who my wife had sponsored, was sponsoring this other girl. And she said to her husband one day, honey, what time you coming home? Now, he was mixed up with a 19-year-old girl, and the guilt had gotten to him. He said, I ain't coming home no more. So he goes out and leaves. She waits around for 4 months and goes out and has a hate fuck. And the guy doesn't want to have anything to do with her. She gets pregnant. She goes looking for her ex-husband to see if maybe he'll give her a play. He commits a murder. He's doing life now. He had 14 years clean in the program and went out and killed somebody. This girl found out what was going on in our life, and she had heard a tape of my wife, and she was talking to her sponsor, and my wife was talking to her sponsee, who was the same girl, and my wife said maybe she would consider us to adopt. Long story short, she agreed to give us this baby. The baby was due February 21st, 2 years ago. He came January 2nd. I was in the delivery room that night. You have to go through all this process to get approved for foster care and parenthood. And let me tell you how much I've come. The state of New Jersey and the state of Maryland deemed that I was approved for pre-adoptive foster care and to be a foster parent, and an adoptive parent. And they got some tough guidelines. And I got to tell you this. Everything went through except my fingerprints to the FBI never came back. Because in 1970 I got busted for an attempted bank robbery. And I knew that was going to be the thing that was going to throw it, and I didn't have the heart to tell my wife. But they never came back. And they figured since the local police and the state police, nothing came back, that the FBI must be cool. And we adopted the baby. And that's a miracle. The odds of that happening to somebody like me is one in I don't know how much. But it's a blessing. I'm a landscaper and a concrete contractor. I do that. That's my lifestyle today. All I want to do is make $1 more than I need today. And I'm able to do that. But to me, that's a healthy way of looking at earning a living. Whereas before, I had to have this, I had to have that, and I had to let you know that I had it. Now it's like, who cares? I get shut-off notices. I'm 22 years clean, and I got sometimes money in the bank, sometimes I don't. That's just the way it is. I'm not, second tradition tells you I ain't a good manager. I don't have to tell you, and you don't have to believe me, and if I tell you I am, I'm lying. The basic text tells you that. So, we ain't even going there. We ain't even going to go there. So, but what happens is, and I got to tell you something else. There was this lady up in Boston, and this is the lifestyle that has happened to me in recovery. She called me up and she said, I'm not feeling too good. You think you can watch my son for a little while? I said, what's a little while? She says, a couple weeks. Now her son, this woman's black, right? Her son is a deaf mute. 100%. Cannot talk, cannot hear. I fell in love with him the first time I ever met him because all these kids was playing and he was walking down this building like this because he couldn't talk to them. Because with deaf mutes, you have to be able to talk to them. The only way that deaf mute people experience love is through their eyes. They can't hear it, they can't feel it, they can't talk it. So I said, that'll be no problem. And I learned sign. And I fell in love with this kid. And we're taking him back to his mother. And she died. And he'd never seen his father. And his 26-year-old sister shooting dope. And his 21-year-old sister, the state took her kids. And I don't know if you're ever familiar with Boston, but he lives in Roxbury.
Oh, yeah.
So you tell me all men are created equal. This kid's 9 years old, can't talk to anybody, never seen his father, his mother's gone, his older sister's shooting dope, and his other sister's dysfunctional in life. All men ain't created equal. But I got to tell you this. This lady said to me, she says, look, my baby is very special to me. He's the only thing I got. I really need him to be with somebody special. Come on. You know what? I'm a do-or-die dope fiend. This lady called me special and gave me everything she had. That's the lifestyle I want. That's what this program gave me. That's where the drugs didn't get me, but the lifestyle did. And I'm digging it. So I took the child back to my house because I didn't know what to do. And I know a lot of people throughout the world. I wasn't one person I knew to call to say, what do you do? How do you tell a deaf mute that their mother's gone? And all the sign books that I know of that was in the library, nothing talked about God, nothing talked about heaven, nothing talked about death. I ain't doing it. Another miracle happened. We got a hold of his foster mother. up in Boston. He lived with this foster lady for a couple years. Just so happened she was a signer for the Special Olympics. And she worked in a special school for handicapped kids. And she agreed to take him. So we took him up to the funeral because we believed that the kid had to say goodbye to his mom. But life ain't fair. He never got to see his mom. Nobody ever got in touch with the undertaker. The body decomposed. They had a closed casket. So now we had to tell this little 9-year-old boy, you're never going to see your mother again. And you know what? I ain't a feeling guy, but that day fucked me up. And every time I think about it, it still does, because I was blessed to be a part of that moment. And believe me, where I came from, I could have walked away from that in a heartbeat and wouldn't have thought nothing. But it meant something to me to be able, this kid taught me. Because I could say and sign, my name is Dutch. And at night he would stay up with me and teach me how to say, my name is Dutch. And he taught me what it meant to experience love only through your eyes. And a lot of things what we miss. So I learned a lot. I've learned a lot with this lifestyle, because the drugs didn't get me. But the lifestyle did. And you know what? I want to keep this lifestyle that I got today. And these are just some of the miracles that have happened. They're not coincidences, they're miracles. You know, we are miracles. This whole thing, this lifestyle that, in the last paragraph of the 5th tradition, I don't even know what page and what tradition it is. It used to be on page 65. So you can stop using, find a new way to live, and they promise you freedom. Promise. Where I came from, if you promise, that's word up. It's a done deal. Promise. Done. Take it to the bank. Right? But they should have put another line in there. Freedom ain't free. But it's worth it. I gotta tell you this. My most precious possession in my life today is my membership in Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you. I'm an addict named Dutch.